and welcome to another video from IELTSfreeway.com. My name's Tim James and I'm a former IELTS speaking examiner, and today I'm going to be giving you 10 top tips to help you score a band 7 or higher. These tips I'm telling to you because these are the things that students or candidates get wrong in the test. So let's get started. Here you can see the marking criteria examiners use, and I've underlined the most important sections of it. The first tip is to smile as you go into the room and when you sit down. This will help you to relax and help break the tension of the exam. This really helps you to speak. It helps you to speak at length without noticeable effort. That's what you have to do to get a band 7. Students that don't smile and look all worried, it looks like it's an effort for them to speak. So create a good first impression by simply smiling. Second, don't panic. Yes, it's an exam, but panicking doesn't help anybody. Panicking will make you repeat yourself and correct yourself and hesitate. And these things you are allowed to do a little bit, but if you're going to score a band 7, you can't be doing it a lot. One thing to remember though is that you are examined on the whole of your speaking test. So even if you make a mess of the first part of the exam, if you do better in parts 2 and 3, then you can still get a very good band score. The examiner is marking you over the whole of the test, not just one part that you mess up. So that's one reason why you shouldn't panic so much. Tip number 3. Here you can see at the top, it says use a range of connectives. If you're just saying and also, and also, and also, maybe that's what you're used to saying, you need to stop that. And you need to say different words, different connectives like in addition, however, even though, although, furthermore. Make sure you record yourself at least once before the exam just to check that you're not saying some words again and again and again, like and also and also. You must use a variety like these words I've shown you here. Next, let's have a look at vocabulary and how you're graded for vocabulary. So to get a band 7, you've got to use some less common words, maybe even some idioms and collocations. So tip number 4 is to use word pairs. These are essentially collocations. Words such as greenhouse gases, public transport, natural disaster. These words fit together. If you use these types of words, then you are using collocations, and that is at band 7 level. There are lots of words that fit together nicely just like this. See if you can pick out some of them the next time you hear a native speaker speak. Tip number 5. Talk specifically in detail and explain. Now, you can see in the band criteria it says use some less common vocabulary. So some students make the mistake of learning a whole list of less common vocabulary, some higher level words, and then try to use them in the test. This is really difficult to do and it doesn't work because you won't be using those words in a natural way in the right context. What you need to do is to talk specifically in detail and explain something. When you talk in detail about something and talk very specifically about it, then that forces you to use less common vocabulary. For example, if I were to explain my last holiday in part 2 of the test, I wouldn't just say, I went on holiday to Australia, we swam in the sea and went fishing. That is not in detail. So instead, I might say, we went to the south coast of Australia and we did some scuba diving on the Great Barrier Reef. We also took a few different fishing trips where we learned how to hook bait onto fishing line and cast it out into the sea as far as 100 meters below the surface. There we go. I said the exact same holiday, but I added a lot of detail to it. By adding that detail, it made me show lots of new vocabulary that will then show the examiner just how good you are. So always explain things in detail. You'll notice it always says idiomatic vocabulary. Again, it's very difficult to learn loads and loads and loads of different idioms because you don't know what questions you're going to be asked. So don't try and learn lots of idioms. But I will give you 2 that you can use, and you will almost certainly be able to use these in the exam. The first one is, I'm on the fence on this one. That just means you're not sure about something. So in part 3 of the test, where you often have to have a discussion with the examiner, you can use this phrase. Perhaps the examiner asks you, do you think technology is good for the world? And you might say, I'm on the fence on this one. I'm not sure because, and then you give your reasons. Or similarly, the examiner might ask, is social media good for society? And you might answer, well, it's not a black and white issue. And that simply means there are lots of different points. You can't just say, yes, it's good for society, or no, it's bad for society. So you simply say, it's not a black and white issue. Means you're undecided and there are lots of different things to say about it. Both of those 2 phrases are idiomatic phrases, and you can use them in your test to get yourself a band 7. And next we have grammatical range and accuracy. Here we're looking at error-free sentences. Now, tip number 7 is, don't think about your grammar. Don't think about what you're saying. If you think about what you're saying and worry about saying error-free sentences, then guess what? You will make even more grammatical errors, because when you're just thinking about what you say, it slows you down and it makes you overthink what you're talking about and basically make more mistakes. So literally try not to worry about it, just talk. Your level of English is your level of English. You can't change it on the test day, so just talk. And whatever your level of grammar is, that is the level you'll be assessed at. Don't think too much or you will lower your grammar score. Tip number 8, use the if clause. This is an easy way of showing another type of complex structure. Complex structure just means a different sentence type, really. So if you use the if clause, if I were the government, I would spend more money on education and improving poverty levels in the country. So using this if clause is a really handy piece of grammar that can show that you can control grammar, and it's going to help you score a band 7 or higher. Next, number 9 and 10 are about pronunciation. Pronunciation's a little more tricky to understand, the marking criteria, but essentially there it is. But tip number 9 is sound linking, something called sound linking. If a word ends in a consonant and the next word starts with a vowel, the words link together when you say them. And this makes you sound much more natural. For example here, an is followed by elephant. So an elephant, an elephant. Just sounds like one word, an elephant. Because the N is the consonant, the E is the vowel, and those words just naturally fit together. An elephant, an elephant, an elephant. Also, when you're listening to people and you find it difficult to understand them, it might be because they're sound linking like this. But you need to speak in sound linking as well. Similarly, it's not the last journey I went on, it's the last journey I went on. Journey I, links together, went on. Just sounds like one word, the last journey I went on. So again, you need to be speaking like this. And finally, tip number 10, you need to speak in chunks with natural pauses for breath. So the last journey I went on was to London. We travelled by taxi and it was very expensive. 3 chunks there, slight pause between them. You basically pause where there's some punctuation or where there is a connecting word, and that's how we speak. That's the normal way to speak. And doing that is part of pronunciation, part of getting the rhythm and the song of the language right. So speak in small chunks, not in separate words, and link the sounds of words together. Thank you very much for listening. They were my top 10 tips for getting a band 7 in or higher in your IELTS speaking test. I hope you found them useful. Any questions, please post them in the comments section and tell me what video you would like me to make next. See you next time. My name's Tim James from IELTSfreeway.com.